Okay, and so you should hear us, but it will have a little bit of a delay. I think on YouTube, you're gonna get something like 30 to 40 seconds of delay, but if you have your audio up, you should start hearing it in a little bit since I'm talking, and then you should see me moving. And the camera that's in your top right.
I don't see, 30-second delay is a lot.
Oh, and hit play.
It is a.
And then,
I don't think anyone's gonna be on, so.
right, all the way to the right.
But I do appreciate it when I can be, like if we're up in Oklahoma.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Well, it helps with quorum.
Yes. Okay.
I'll stand up here and just keep moving. But it sounds like I heard you talking.
Yeah. So what was the change?
Usually when we do live streaming for YouTube, we click this here and then we do custom live streaming. What I did was, cause that wasn't working, I did stream on YouTube and I signed it. I didn't know if it was gonna, cause I called you before I did.
I mean, honestly, that's probably like using what they would call an API.
Everyone has to be phrasing.
Okay, so you can hear me, you can see me.
Forgot my phone.
Are you broadcasting right now?
Oh, I agree.
Very
Somebody, we had go live earlier.
Okay, it just means that you might, after this meeting, go back and edit off this first little bit, and I can help you with that tomorrow. But it just means that if someone tunes in and goes all the way to the beginning, they'll see us having this conversation.
Looking very patriotic, sir.
That's not bad, we haven't said it.
Had some patriotic department. This year I was supporting my nominee for fire.
Right.
Oak Ridge Caldwell. No. At least it's for
You ready? Okay. I am calling to order the Independent Ethics Review Board on Wednesday, April 22nd at 5 p.m. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? No, Karen, yeah. Okay, great. I'm sorry.
We have a form.
Yes,
Okay, just making sure.
we sure do. And prior to the minutes, just wanting to let everyone know so that we're all in alignment and aware that Mr. Traley is no longer, he's stepped down from the board. So he's no longer on our board. So we will miss him. Minutes, the next item is consideration of and action on the minutes of January 7th, 2026 meetings. They have a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. The next item is the article of interest that has been provided to us. We are headed north this meeting to our friends in Seattle. And the circumstances essentially are that there was a newly elected mayor and that she did not disclose contributions from her parents. They were determined to be contributions later on and was fined $250 as a result of those. And the statement was that it was a corrective action that was warranted in order to avoid creating an avenue for future candidates to circumvent campaign finance laws. So wanted to discuss this with the group and also see how it relates to our code and what types of concerns we would have and would we have taken the same action.
You don't think the headline was meant to sway the readers at all?
I have a question more for clarification type thing. So the contribution was because it was made to her campaign. Had they just given her the money, it wouldn't have been an issue. Is that correct?
Probably not. I'm not familiar with Seattle law, but most likely, yes, if they gave her the money as the parents and she used it for childcare. I don't believe that
Last
was.
time I checked in, the federal law is I can give anybody $19,000. Anybody.
Well.
Yeah, but I'm saying
You're on for it.
every year,
You're all related.
every year. And that wouldn't have come in had they given it to her and not the campaign, this would not have been an issue. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
That was my question was, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they just give it to her?
Tax write-off.
Well, you can't deduct contributions to a campaign though.
I think that goes beyond our jurisdiction.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say is if this is a campaign reporting requirement, then it's outside our jurisdiction and it goes to the ethics board. I mean, the Texas ethics and the filings like what happened with the city secretary, correct? For what they file.
It looked like they had a combination board, I think elections and ethics.
It's this, the failure to disclose contributions of a certain amount, would that be under our purview? I guess would be the first question. So if we received a complaint and that this was the complaint, would that be something that would be, Meredith, would you forward it on to our board?
I'm gonna forward any complaint onto you. I think it's dependent on how it was written up. If they said it was unethical because, and they had enough information that it would not just be a state issue, then yes, I would forward it to you. One of the reasons I put this here is, did you want to include anything that would address that within your purview and not just have the state? If you want to divide up the apple.
Thoughts?
I think it muddies the water to have two. I would just leave it with the elections and the state and not do it individually. That would be my view.
Somebody made the complaint, I would read it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Most likely. It's not a huge violation.
But if it's not in our purview, then why even?
I mean, unless the parents were somehow involved in business with the city. Then she's accepting contribution from
Conflict.
Mhm.
some stuff like that, but if it's just her parents going. hey, we're proud of you, we have nothing else to do, spend it before.
And then I guess some of it too would be the rules going back to the campaign contributions. Can they be used for childcare? You know, the use of the funds. Is it used for an appropriate expense from within the campaign?
Bigger issue with that, actually.
I'm of the opinion, if it's already regulated and well-defined, and if there are already, you know, transparency mechanisms in place to ensure that it's regulated appropriately and adhered to, I don't necessarily feel that it would need a secondary component where it would need to come to this board to review. And I also think that I know we do that in some circumstances, based on articles we've received or situations that have arisen, but I think where possible, not duplicate regulating is not as confusing. Should somebody have a complaint or an issue, it instead of going through two different governing bodies or entities that have to investigate. And also that goes into city resources too, right? So we wouldn't want to use our resources when there's another avenue to leverage.
What if the two bodies disagree? Yeah. Right.
Or a bribery thing, it could be against state law, it could be against election law and against our policy, in which case we would decision, but I don't think that this is a criminal.
You would have would be under 295, and you would say it's a violation of our code because they didn't file. If you're not looking into the meat of it, but you're saying it is a violation, then do you want to provide punishment or guidance for that? I have to depend on how far into the complaint you wanted to get as far as the actual violation.
Well, that goes back to what you were saying on how it was written and submitted as well. Because I think too, depending on if the severity, if it was substantial in amount or multiple instances of it for, you know, different individuals, then perhaps we would be more inclined. If it's something small and streamlined and it's already covered by, you know, state law.
Does it fit into the 295 number 4? Oh, wait, yeah,
That's where I would put it.
yeah, that's. So,
Not.
or B maybe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it
Not
could,
disclosed.
right, so if it wasn't disclosed, is that 4B?
The way I'm reading it.
Incomplete.
So, help me understand again. We're saying not, but we have it in our code, so now I'm confused.
So if
Why we read the code.
your discussion would be that you have a violation of this, it would not necessarily be it's a violation of state law. So you're gonna have some overlap. One of the things I was wanting to discuss with you all was, okay, so it's a payment from her parents. Had it been a payment from someone else, would you feel differently? Had she used it for something other than childcare that wasn't campaign related, would you feel differently? Is there a sliding scale for you, like parents are okay, neighbor not okay, childcare okay, rent not okay?
I'm agnostic with respect to like the use and honestly, the individual, this goes into like my black and white of like, did you do it? Yes or no?
I'm with you.
Is it against this? Yes or no? You know, what it was utilized for. When you're looking at, and it may make difference when you start looking at penalties or, you know, like how egregious it might be.
Right.
But at the, like the threshold of like, is this a violation or not? It doesn't, to me, it wouldn't matter who or what for. It would just matter if. Now, the latter part would matter to me when I started assessing possible penalties or
Mhm.
fines and things of that nature. I think that's when the gray area becomes more of a discussion in my mind.
So there's no emotional pull that it was for childcare.
And the treasurer, the campaign treasurer would be responsible for filing the disclosure, but the candidate would ultimately be responsible for making sure it's correct, right?
Candidates sign off on. Sorry, was the candidates sign off on everything?
Yes, they have to attest, right?
Yes.
So they are the one who is ultimately responsible,
Yeah,
even though the
yeah.
campaign treasurer is.
The campaign treasurer prepared it,
The buck stops with a candidate.
candidate.
I'm gonna go back. So in this case, there is the violation on our rules of 4B, yes? Yep. But now, does that make us in us and the Texas Election Commission or that group? Are we both then, are there two different elements? They've got one and we have one?
Yeah, and we've looked at things similar in nature, maybe it not, might be this particular section, but where there's a legal component and an ethics component. And I think we would take ours as it comes and move forward with our hearings and proceedings and, you know, without respect to the legal component.
Got it. Thank you. So we would say it would probably then be an ethics violation, and then we would decide the penalty, and that's where maybe the, like you said, Krista, the gray part comes into play.
And to Meredith's question, am I more sensitive or thoughtful regarding the use of it? Not in the violation, but perhaps in the actual outcome.
Yeah, I would be that way.
Do y'all think the penalty that she was imposed was appropriate? Would you do more? Would you do less? What are your thoughts on that?
It was clear that they did exactly what you said. They weighed it based upon the, what it was used for and probably a little bit of. They felt like it may have been a little bit more of a gray area than some of the things.
But in 4B, it allows for them to correct their errors. That's how I read it.
I would give them that
14
option.
days.
Well, and then the article did indicate, if I recall correctly, that she paid it back. Later on, if I'm not mistaken. Wilson refunded the money to her parents, so that, I don't know if it doesn't say that it was an outcome of the actual hearing, but that was a good faith effort to remedy the issue that came up.
I mean, it seemed $250 is a kind of a
Phenomenal, yeah.
slap on the
I think
wrist.
they said that they wanted it to be, hey, pay attention. You're getting off easily, but you still violated something. Kind of like the written warning for speeding or something like that. You still did something wrong, you still got caught. I'm not gonna push it up to a point. And here, in a case like that, you know, $10,000 in one of our candidates' campaign fund is a big percentage. I would imagine someone like the mayor of Seattle, $10,000 is a relatively small amount of what they're gonna spend.
Well, if we were doing an investigation, perhaps that's information we'd want to request, you know, the average amounts for contributions is large, is this small in the grand scheme of things.
Parents gave you 40% of your, 30% of your campaign. I'd give them an opportunity I'd want to give them an opportunity to correct it, resubmit it. It's gonna be permanently on their record that they got caught.
I would have just told my parents that, hey, give it to me, not to the campaign.
They hear directly. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. Circumvented.
So clearly other avenues that could have utilized. Meredith, you looked like you had something with respect to the amounts.
Oh, just two thoughts. One, there's disclosure requirements under conflicts of interest for campaign contributions of more than 2,500 to the past election cycle from immediate family member. There's also, I recalled a dollar value that they had to disclose if it was a vendor. They couldn't vote on the item. I was trying to remember.
Oh, I saw that. Was
Page number 277. So in that sense, you're not gonna get very large campaign contributions, like $10,000.
Here it was 278B, an official who received gifts from a person or vendor, that's gifts, no, sorry. Was the vendor, that was just the one.
Yeah, we have it under 279A3. Because you had asked a question about dollar value. It's not likely they're gonna get a 10,000.
Yeah, and I think. Our candidates are spending in the. $50,000 to $75,000 range, probably. Maybe more if you have a. Good backer. But I don't see them getting.
So if we were to have something like this, do we believe that the fine that is attributed would be reasonable, too low, too high? That's kind of. Right?
I probably want to know more around the circumstances, you know, the why and the how, and did it seem malicious to, you know, was it? They're not going to obviously admit if it was intentionally put here and hidden, things of that nature, but you can deduce based on like surrounding factors as to whether or not it seemed intentional, malicious, or whatnot. I mean, I think interviewing the candidate and now mayor would be reasonable to find out a little bit more about the situation and why it occurred. If it seemed like an oversight or just poor accounting and not clear transparency, I feel like the fine is fine. Now, if it seemed more intentional and I don't know, then maybe it's a little bit low.
My bigger problem is using campaign funds to pay childcare. But that's not.
Well, we don't have anything with respect to that.
Right.
Good part.
$250 is. I think very reasonable.
Based on the information we have on it.
It was an oversight. See, great. Here's a letter, it goes somewhere. We do it again. Fix it.
Here's the code.
Can you repeat your last statement?
Sure. I would most likely be leaning towards some kind of letter of censure or don't do it again. And 14 days to fix and refile.
But if she returned it, then. I don't know if the reporting requirements on
That would be.
normally in the ones that I file, you report that you received it, but then you turn around and report that it's been returned.
Right, because she had failed to report it initially, so. If she returned it, then her amount is still the same as when she filed originally.
Right. Yeah, so you put the in and then the return.
I mean, you're talking about like a reprimand or admonition or something like that.
If it came to us and they had accepted the money and had not returned it yet. I would be more likely to go. Shouldn't have done this. Here's a warning on paper that you shouldn't have done it. Fix whatever you need to and. We'll do 14 days to see if it's fixed.
Well, then that goes to the part of the hearing procedures where if the person that is subject to the complaint says, you know what, I'm sorry I did this. It was not intentional, it was inadvertent, I've returned the money, like, can we, move forward in some sort of a capacity? It also, like, I think that goes back to interviewing that person. And if they've already taken the actions and that they acknowledge that it was an oversight and that it was a misstep and that, that won't happen again, definitely that impacts what I would think I would want to assess as far as like an outcome.
So you may consider settling it.
Yes.
Fix it.
Going through a public hearing process.
If they were proactive and made a good faith effort and said, look, I returned it. I'm sorry, put all this in writing. This is why it happened, I'd like to
By the
resolve
time
it.
our hearing were to happen, taking that step already, it would show.
The right.
That step, I fixed it,
Yes.
thank you.
I think attempting to do the right thing and remedy it proactively goes a long way in my mind.
Once you find the $250 and caught, returning the money is less of a. Forgive me, and well, I don't want it to go any further.
Well, and I think the returning of it is an acknowledgement of, you know, there was a misstep, whether it was intentional or not. But if there's not an acknowledgement, you go through the process and it's contentious and, you know, there's not an acknowledgement that anything was done incorrectly, even if it was inadvertently, I think that also skews it the other way, because you want somebody to hear what you're saying and that, you know, this is not appropriate, this was not in accordance with our code. And, you know, there are consequences to that, especially, I mean, shouldn't say especially, but in this circumstance, this is the new mayor of the city, right? So I mean, you're talking about precedent of a new term and, you know, trying to do the right things. Hopefully, and that's just this instance, they try to do the right things up front and.
Well, I mean, she could write the check from her campaign back to mom and dad. Mom and dad turn around, rewrite a check to her personally, and she gets the money back. So, I mean.
Yeah, that's what maybe surprised me about it, especially when it said, what occurred indicated that the fine was only $250 because what occurred was a novel issue not seen before. Really? Like for that reason, exactly, like, well, what prohibits them from just, okay.
That's okay, though. That's legal. You can give money it was given to her campaign, not to her.
And not, give it to her campaign and not reported.
And not.
Yeah.
But they could give her as much money, well, we were talking about a lot of money. I mean, you give anybody right now federally $19,000 a year.
I think so too, whenever she said, maybe there was more to that, but for her to say, oh, I used it for childcare, that seems a little odd that a parent would write her campaign a check for her childcare expenses.
We agree.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Just pay the school directly,
Right.
no problem.
Hopefully shows a lack of critical reasoning, but. That is not subject to.
That's a doer's job.
So there wouldn't be though, I mean, there isn't anything that we need to change or do or say to cover something differently, right?
Not in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm open to that discussion, but not in my opinion. Any other final comments or thoughts or concerns regarding the article discussion?
I just think the reporter is not reporting, I mean, it's a biased opinion instead of a report, but that's my opinion.
Well, and I mean, you see was it like the radio person wanting to highlight it and all of that, so the conservative radio. And it was very specific.
Yeah.
All right.
Not new.
Let's move on to the workshop. We do have just a small section that we had proposal for modification from last meeting. Yeah, thank you. Have mine highlighted, sorry. Okay. It is regarding section 2-103 sanctions for violations. And it goes back to subsection A. So a letter of notification when the violation is clearly unintentional, when the respondent's conduct was undertaken in reliance on a public written opinion of the city attorney, or when the actions taken were inconsistent with the value statements contained in Division 1 of this article. A letter of notification may advise the respondent of any steps to be taken to avoid future violations. Small tweak, but does anybody have any concerns with how it's revised?
Something like this has, well, the reliance on the written city opinion. Has the reliance on the written opinion by the city attorney was brought up, or was part of past discussions. But Meredith still gave us the complaint to look at. As she said, any complaint that comes in will go to us. So keeping that in there is, I think, is fine, because it's come up before.
Yes, it definitely has come up, and Meredith forwarded it on with her commentary that she did provide advice to the individual. And we were able to
And
still
it played a big part in our deliberation.
correct.
I'm fine with it that way.
Okay, do we need a vote? Is there any changes? Favor? Okay. We will leave it as is. Any other final comments or thoughts, questions?
Slightly off topic, but it is about a proposed revision, it's not to your code. But the city council is looking through making revisions to the appointment process for boards and commissions. They've had one workshop that city clerk Ms. Mendenhall has done, and she's making some changes. One of the items that they are looking at is terms and term limits. And so one of the possibilities is that every board has 2-year terms, and you all are currently 3-year terms. So I just wanted to let you know this is going through the process. There's a potential that you will have an opportunity to reapply every 2 years rather than every 3 years, and they will be looking at term limits. So there's nothing determined by city council at this time. Just wanted to put that on your radar.
I always thought there were term limits. There were on my SL4.
Yes, some boards have them, some don't. Some are enforced, some are not, and we are, Linda's working very hard to make everything uniform.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to give you a heads up that your terms, if you're,
Yeah.
will not change.
Take into account if the new board of commissioners formed and you want continuity. If everybody starts at 2 years, they're all.
Staggered terms, like with this board where you had some people appointed to 1-year terms, 2-year terms, and 3-year terms, there will be staggered.
That's a good idea too.
Just letting you know that this is a possibility that's a city council. So that
Not all have.
this is not on for discussion, this was just.
Okay, all right.
As an awareness, so that, you know, should that change be implemented and we're impacted, we're.
So if you get kicked off next month, you know, you'll know why.
Charities.
Any other items?
Well, Linda, thank you for all your help on that. I appreciate your efforts.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned.
30 seconds.